Okay, another juniper. You can see it's kind of got this gnarly branch that comes down, and then it's got a few branches up here. I'm not sure what to do with it, but if I leave it, it's just going to keep extending and growing out, and so I need to somehow push it back, and it's just starting to grow. So, you know, a little late for it, but otherwise I'm doing it much later, so I think I can do it now, though. Yeah, it'll push growth back. So I decided on the best angle being seeing this branch coming down and having this other one coming up on this side. So yeah, and so I had to kind of bring some of these branches in here because there was just basically nothing in here, and so it looked like two separate trees. So the trick was how do I sort of merge those two? And then I sort of had this problem if I just brought this one branch in or this back branch in, there was a real gap, and there was this sort of hole, so I used that back branch to kind of frame it. And you know, ideally this is maybe a little lower down there so you can see it. It's actually not bad, and that looks a little bit weird because you see that back branch, but you know, from this angle it's looking pretty good. So, and I cleared out a lot of dead branches, and I bent one of these over to kind of make the apex. Cleared out some dead branches, bent one of these over to make the apex. You know, sort of spun it around. So yeah, I'm happy, and it's growing quite well, so we'll just let it keep growing. You know, obviously this is like really thick and dense, and like a huge pad compared to the rest. And you know, I mean, that could be just dead wood at some point, be beautiful gin coming down. But right now it's okay because I've kind of connected the trees, and if this can fill out here, sorry, if this side can fill out here, you know, maybe I'll get a fuller tree. But yeah. And then of course this is super weird, you know, going the opposite direction, these kind of coming out straight and flat when everything else is all twisty. So, you know, it clutters it and makes it look kind of, the dead wood doesn't match. Like this one's okay, but these dead woods don't match. That's okay. The nature of the tree, like this one has curves, but this one's pretty straight, and then these straight longs. So you know, I could just take that whole, both of those out, and it would create a lot of space up and under here, and it would clear that line up so you can see it's getting broken off by those. So that could be a future direction, and there's always potential to add deadwood. Subalpine Fir. This is the tree I collected, and it's on the thumbnail of one of my collection videos. It's yeah, and this has got this nice thick base, and it's got really nice taper. It does get a little straight and long, and you can see since then I've gotten all this growth. And back here there's a little like indent. It must have been on a rock or something. And anyways, the curve's this way too. So I had originally just put it in there, and often it's not the best angle and everything, but I think this is pretty much the angle I'm going to style it at. And so yeah, there's this is a cement pot that I had made. You know, it's really way too big for this one, this tree, and I'd put some like dye in it of some sort, either cement dye or some acrylic paint. But it is cracking a bit, you know, so we'll see how it does. But anyways, I had thought, you know, maybe transplant it, but no, let's style it this year, let it push a bunch of growth, and next year look to put it in something a little smaller. And then as far as in here, you know, I've got these two sort of dead, you know, apexes and stuff, which is very, you know, natural of this design. We'll see. You know, I got some whorls, so I'm gonna have to start to reduce and figure out where to put the apex. See, what looks like there's a big chunk in there, so something to deal with. So I had to do a lot of tough decisions. And you can see it's like really bare up here and kind of looks funky, but there was such a big whorl right in here, and the tree was up here, and you started to get this sort of really straight. It has such, like, it has decent taper all the way up, and so, you know, this has to thicken out, but this was just a huge knob, and so I had to kind of try to make an apex, but really this all has to fill out. I have to hope for some budding, you know, somewhere up in here, hopefully, to get more branching and just continue to kind of build this whole apex. And same thing here, right? Like hoping to get some little back buds popping out on all these little sections. And you know, I have the one sort of deadwood. It's super bizarre because it's super thin and it's taller than the other one, you know, the main tree, and it's just straight. I'm just a little bit reluctant right now to chop it off. Yeah, I just don't want to chop it off. I mean, maybe you guys can tell me what you think. Most people probably say chop it, but once it's gone, and then it starts to become, you know, maybe a little too regular of a bonsai. Didn't find much roots, so there was some little roots sections coming out here, here. So you know, it's got a little bit of a nabari, but not much. Sort of a little bit under there. So you know, there's potential for a little more, get a little more out of that lower base. Yeah. So we'll see. You know, I really realized that, you know, doing these trees, you knock the wild out of them quite a bit, and I don't know, you know, like that looks a little strange and sparse right now. So we'll see what happens when it pushes out, you know, because I'm hoping it'll fill out a lot. Yeah, on to the next one. I've broken up that little pad a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of growing out like that thing is. So where is it on the screen? Yeah, there. It's super long. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Larch. I was hoping to transplant this, but it's too late now. You know, I could probably get away with it. I just don't want to, you know, risk the vigor, and it's so vigorous. So instead of, and earlier in the year actually, took some of this off. Just to push growth down to that, and I thought, oh, I could transplant it this year, but now I'm just realizing like it's flushed out too much, and I have it in this really strange pot. I got these rocks on here. I'm thinking that dirt only goes down here, and it was falling over. So I don't know what I have under there, maybe wood or something, which makes me, you know, really wish I had transplanted it, but it seems to be doing really well. So really what I want to do is not lose these lower branches to this apex and stuff. So I'm just going to trim it down. I'm not going to wire. Am I not going to wire? We'll see once I start getting in there. Oh, that's all she gets. Just cleared out a lot of the dead wood really down here, so I didn't take off any live stuff. So you can see it really thinned out. You know, and took back a bunch off the top, you know, just trimmed it back just to keep growth pushing out from all this interior. And you know, because a lot of this stuff's going to shade it out. And I took, you know, how did I decide that? I took some of the bigger branches off that were, you know, proportionally way too big. There was a huge one coming off here. And, you know, I could consider giving this a style. You know, like I'd like to curve that maybe in a bit. You know, and I could really trim these back, but I feel like I need more interior growth. So maybe that is trim those back a little bit. You know, do I want them to thicken and grow big? I mean, I want these ones to really grow big, thick. Yeah, I probably want them to thicken out a bit. But I'm wondering, should I just be trimming it right back to these, you know? Right on. Let it just try to push out. Change of plans. I chopped it right back to where I wanted new branches to potentially form. So I pushed everything right in. Since it's going to stay in this container all the year, I think that's the best thing is just push it in.